We're going to manage the human resources and staff setup. I'm going to show you the global inside of your Alora software. And we're going to go through a couple setup items that are specific to adding your employees inside of your software. Before we log into Alora Plus, I would like to take everyone to their project playbook. For the new agencies joining me this week, you should have received an invitation. It should say, welcome to Alora Prep Class, and it's from Arrows. If you just had your kickoff call today, I believe that your implementation specialist would be still working on your Arrows. Oops, I hear a little bit of feedback. Let me just. Marjorie, I'm just going to I hear a little bit of feedback. There we go. So if your agency just had their kickoff call today with one of the implementation specialists, most likely they're still getting your Arrows playbook together. So if you have not received that invitation today, you should be receiving it by the first thing tomorrow morning. When you receive your invitation, it's not going to be coming from Alora. It is going to be coming from Arrows, and it will say, welcome to Alora Prep Class. It's going to be coming to the main email on file. I would highly encourage all of the new agencies, once you receive that invitation, go ahead and click on it and bookmark it to your favorites. Add it to your computer. Have a bunch of training fields that are going to be helpful with training your employees and for future reference. If you are a new agency and you did not receive your welcome to Alora Prep Class from Arrows, and you had your kickoff call before today, just shoot me a message in the email chat box, and I'll be more than happy to take a look at that after today's live class. I would like to go through Arrows just for a few minutes to show you guys what it looks like. So once you receive your invitation, when you click on your Arrows, this is what it looks like. Now keep in mind, it's going to be specific for your agency. What we're going to be working on this week is in Alora Prep Classes right here. All you do is click on your drop-down arrow right here. Here is today's live class, Admin and HR. If you would like to look at the training materials, oops, I went too fast, guys. Let me try that again. If you would like to look at just today's training materials and maybe print them off, you can click on Session 1, Admin and HR. Once you click on this area right here, it's going to take you directly to today's training materials. I would encourage you to print them off, and some new agencies will actually put a binder together and name it Alora Prep Class or whatever you like to name it. Everything that I'm covering in today's live class is right here. Word in the materials. To go back to your main screen inside of Arrows, you can just click on the blue Alora right here. And it'll take you back. We're back to the main screen. Now, if you're one of the agencies that would like to print off all of your resources, all of those training materials, we have this button right here. Once you click on resources, you're going to see training materials that are specific for your agency, and they're going to be showing below right here. Feel free, guys, to print them off, download them and print them off. And again, to go back to the main screen, you'll just click on the blue Alora. You're going to have a bit of homework, guys, for the next few days. So when you're inside of your arrows, after today's live class, here's your homework assignments right here. Set up, of course, if you have employees, you want to set up their HR records, which I'm going to show you guys today how to do it. Create that employee's login credentials, which I'm going to show you today as well. And you're going to add any additional credential tracking items, which I'll show you in today's live class. Once you complete these homework assignments, you're just going to click on it and mark it done. So that way we all know that you have completed your homework and you're ready for live class session 2. Now again, if you're a new agency that has no employees, disregard this. I make this class interactive, so if you have any questions, feel free to unmute and ask me, or put something in the private, or not the private, or the chat box. It doesn't have to be directly to me, unless you want it to be. All right, guys, let's go ahead and go to Alora. I'm going to give you guys some tips and tricks before we log in. I do encourage agencies to follow along with me. If you can log into your Alora Plus and start building your foundation along with me, feel free to do that. If you're not comfortable logging in and following along and adding additional items, no worries. Take a look at my screen and just do it at a later time. There's going to be 2 ways to log into Alora Plus. One way is to download our app from your Google or Play Store. And it looks just like this. It's Alora Plus. That would be one way to log in. The other way would be to utilize the internet. We highly encourage to be on Google Chrome when you're on a web browser. Chrome works the best on Alora. It was built on Alora. There's a couple other web browsers that will work. Firefox, Microsoft Edge, and Safari. Those will work, but if you ever run into any issues with them, come over to Google Chrome. When you're using a web browser, I would highly encourage everyone to type in on the URL right here, aloraplus.com, and bookmark that page. That way you have it when you log into that web browser. If any of your employees, including yourself, utilize a search engine like Google, Bing, DuckDuckGo, we have about 5 servers. So you may be under the wrong server. It will be hit or miss. So if anyone uses a search engine and it says when they're logging in, invalid user and or password, and they know it's the correct username and password, most likely they're using a search engine and they're on the wrong one. Works. Go to aloraplus.com right here. We're going to give everyone 10 attempts to log into the software. If you have a caregiver or yourself logging in and maybe you forget your password, on the 7th attempt, we're going to give you a warning. A little box will pop up. You have made 7 attempts. You have 3 left before we lock your account. So there will be a warning before their account gets locked. If any of your employees make those 10 attempts, they will be locked out of the software. I'm going to show you today how easy it is to unlock them. Do offer the show text to make sure that they are plugging in the correct password. If of your employees forget their password, have them click on this link right here. It will send a temporary password to the email on file for them. Last thing before we log in, if you're using a web browser, make sure that you are up to date on that browser. If you see update in the far upper right-hand corner, I encourage you to update that browser. If you keep delaying it, you're going to be running into issues with the software. It does happen. And your cache browsing history, make sure you clear them out. I usually do mine every 2 weeks. If you do not clear them out and they keep piling up, your software will be running slow. So just be careful with that too, guys. All right, guys, let's log in. Unless anyone has any questions or concerns. A lot of tips and tricks I'm going to give you guys this week. All right, let's log in. When you log into your software, you're going to automatically see what we call the dashboard. But before you see that, if you're looking on my screen, guys, this is what we call the announcements. Anything that we want to communicate to the agencies, any enhancements, maybe there's a holiday and we've changed customer support hours, we're always going to let the agencies know, and this is where it's going to be, in the announcements area. Once you're done reading that announcement, to close this box, you can either click on the black part of the screen, or on the upper right-hand corner, there's a white X. And it'll close it. Here is the dashboard. So we're going to be talking about creating your login credentials for your employees. When your skilled clinicians and your office staff, when you create their login credentials, which I'll show you today, we're going to be able to customize what we call their widget boxes. So if you're looking at my screen, these are the widget boxes I'm referring to. Current census by payer, visit widget box. That's where all of your skilled clinicians can do their visits when they log into Alora if they're scheduled to them. Every employee skill works in the office, you can customize their dashboard on what you want them to see. What are they tracking for you? I'll show you guys a little bit later. Yeah.
Jackie, can you show me again how to get to the dashboard, please?
You just, log in. That's all.
Okay.
So if I log off, and then I'm going to log back in, takes you right to the dashboard.
Oh, I logged in and it didn't give me that.
If yours is white, is it a white screen?
Let me try again.
No problem. If it's a white screen, most likely you don't have anything customized in your dashboard.
Okay. All right, I got it. So what I did, I got it, but I went to the live training. That's why.
Oh, gotcha. Very good.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. So yeah, it's really neat, guys. You can customize what you want your caregivers to see once they log in. So let's talk about the buttons on the very top. Your first one is the announcements. Now we also store the announcements in the software. So if you wanted to look at previous announcements that we've brought out, click on the announcements box right here. Here they are, all stored. So if you wanted to look at maybe our enhancements that we did from 10.3, click on that blue eyeball. And it's going to take you to that area and let you know all of the cool new features that we added into the software and any improvements as well. This one's long. And again, to close out of it, you'll just click on the black screen or the white X. So these are always going to be here for you guys to view. And once you're done viewing them, you'll just hit the close button. And what Marjorie was saying is she clicked on the live training, which everyone knows because they're joining me today. What I like about this area is it lets you know who is the target audience who should be joining my live classes. Also, the goal. What is the goal after attending the live class? I conduct these Monday through Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. I usually have the live class open up. I open it up around 2:50. Now, anyone is welcome to join. Of course, you're going to see the audience of who should. You won't be able to join any time sooner than 2:50 that day. So if you try to click on join thinking that there's a waiting list or something early in the morning, it'll just say that the class is not being conducted at this time. Please try again later. All right. Go back to our dashboard. We can either hit the arrow back or click on our dashboard tab. Next area we have is the training videos. You're going to see there's 3 categories in the training videos area. User training, teacher-specific training, and all the way down, I always like to tell everyone this is my favorite, role-specific training. These videos will always be here in the software. So any of your clinicians can come to this area and take a look at maybe they need to know how to create a supervisory visit note. When you click on that link, it's going to open up a video. Once they're done watching that video, they'll just hit pause and close. But the bottom is my favorite. So if you're a new agency that is still hiring, when you hire on maybe a nurse, take your nurse to this area and click on the nurse folder. There are training videos that are specific for that nurse to watch. And they're usually not long. They're about 2 minutes. If you hire on a scheduler, we have a scheduler folder as well. Human resources and biller. So it's pretty neat. Watch all these videos. All right, we're going to go back over to our dashboard. We're going to skip over add features and license. That is just the ability to upgrade your software. But we're not going to go into that. Your implementation specialist will be more than happy to take a look at that with you. Next is your frequently asked questions. You're going to see the top 10 questions that agencies call in to our customer support. Here they are. To the answer to that question, you'll just click on the question. It will then show you a drop down with the answer. So if you want to find out who deleted visits, it's telling you to go to the Reports tab, select the Audit Trail report, choose the document type, and hit Deleted Visits. And then we will let you know what caregiver deleted those visits. We also have a category area over to the far right. So if you are having trouble in a specific area inside of Alora, come over to your category area and click on it. Maybe your question that you have is there with an answer. You can also type your question right here. If we have the answer to that question when you hit go, we're going to give you that answer. All right, we're going to go one last time to the dashboard, guys. If you are requiring your employees to do a COVID screening, they can start their screening right on the dashboard. They're just going to click on this orange button. All right. We're going to leave the dashboard, but before we leave, does anyone have any questions or concerns in this area for me? Have that chat box open, so if anyone doesn't feel comfortable unmuting, type me a message. We're going to keep going, guys. Now let's do the very first thing. If it's not done already, let's set up your office. Set up your office in your software. You're going to navigate over, which we call, this is the main tabs inside of your software on the left-hand side. You're going to click on Setup, and it should be in alphabetical order. You're going to find the Office tab. So we're going to scroll all the way down, and here's Office. And we're going to click on it. Now, if you have not set up your office, it's going to say in office name right here, your office name. So if you're looking at your screen right now for the agencies that are following along and it says your office name and you would like to add your office in, follow along with me. Click on that green edit pencil right here. Get rid of your office name, delete it, and put your agency's name in that very first box. Next is your agency's address. So you're going to plug that in. And if
Jackie,
you guys are at, yeah.
it's me again. I'm sorry, I lost you.
No. So you're under, did you go to Setup?
Mm-hmm.
And then all the way down until Office?
I'll do it. Okay. Mm-hmm.
When you click on your office, Marjorie, do you see your, what does it say right here under office name?
My office name, yeah, Wellness at Home.
Awesome. So your office is set up. I'm not sure if your implementation was on the kickoff set for you or you did it. So great. So if you want to make sure everything looks okay, you can follow along. Click on that green edit pencil and open up your office. And you should have your office here, which I know, Marjorie, you do. But for everyone else, make sure that you have your agency's address as well. We do require the 9-digit zip code here. This is for claim processing. So if you don't have the 9-digit here, and maybe you have a piece of mail by you, you will see that 9-digit zip code in that piece of mail. If you do not, you can open up a new tab by clicking on the little plus sign on the top and type in, if you want to add it in today, type UPS.com. Everyone, just a minute in case you're adding that 9-digit zip in. Once you go to USPS.com, you're going to hover over Quick Tools and select Look Up a Zip Code. Next, you're going to click on Find by Address right here. You're going to type in your agency's address. The boxes below. If you have a suite, make sure you put it into the box right here. Once you're done plugging in that address and you hit Find, it's going to give you your agency's 9-digit code. Is anyone having any trouble with this? In the chat box. Might all have your office set up. All right, I don't see anything, so we're going to go back over to Alora. And you're going to plug in that 9-digit zip right here. You then would put your agency's phone number and fax. The email box is the main contact person for the agency and their email. So make sure you have something in there. This is for claims. So if anything, they need to reach out to you and get a hold of you, they have your email and your contact, your first name and last name. So email address, we encourage you to put on here. Contact box is the main contact person's first and last name. So if it would be you, Marjorie, it would be Marjorie here. Jerome? Hopefully I'm saying that right. I see you on camera laughing.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Okay. If your agency has a logo, you don't have to do it now because it might take a little bit longer. You can upload your agency's logo. Here's mine. You can tell I like dogs, guys. Next is your ID code. So for the new agencies, you might not have everything to plug in these boxes, and that's okay. Whatever you have, plug it in now, if you can. NPI is your first box. Next is tax ID agency. If you have your Medicare license, this is your Medicare ID. If you have your Medicaid license, this is your Medicaid ID. Branch ID. If you do not have any additional branches for your agency, I would encourage you to put the letter N for no in this box right here. And your last box is your state assigned agency ID if you have it. Plug it in. Once you're done, you're just going to save and close on the bottom right. You have added in, if you follow along with me, you have added in your office into your EMR. If you didn't have all of the boxes filled, maybe you don't have just yet, no worries, and just go back when you have them, go back over to setup, your office tab, click on it, and then open up your office with the green edit pencil and add those in at a later time. All right. The next tab that we're going to talk about is the admin tab. Now, I will let everyone know, if you do not have administrator role, which is full access to your software, if I have any nurses hanging out with me today and you don't have full access to the software, you will not have the admin tab. So just follow along with me on your screen if you don't have it. So now we're going to go over to the left-hand side and we're going to click on the admin tab. And we're going to select the very first one that says customize. Your first tab is the company tab. So if you don't have this filled out, let's fill it out together. You're just going to put your agency's name back in the first box and your agency's address. You do not need the 9-digit zip here. Give everyone just a few minutes. Marjorie, is yours in there already?
I am in there. Yeah.
Did you do it or did one of the specialists do it?
Right there, it was already done.
Ah, very cool.
Yeah.
All right, guys, once you're done putting in your agency's information, the next area is what is the first day of the week for your agency for payroll purposes? Does your work start on a Sunday? If it does, keep it exactly where it is. for payroll, does it start on a Monday? Is it Monday to Sunday? So select the appropriate day that your week starts for your caregivers. This is going to help you for overtime. We're going to calculate in this next box, if you have this alert on, we're going to let you know when you're scheduling visits to your caregivers on patients' calendars if that caregiver is about to exceed the 40-hour work week. It's going to pull from here, whatever day you put the first day of the week. What's also really cool about Alora, especially in your setup area or your global settings, which this is your global settings, we're in the customized area. We're going to let you know on the right what it means by selecting the over to the left. Kind of give it. Now, we're not going to go through all of these tabs, guys. I'm just going to let you know we're going through 2 of them. So any of the tabs that I do not cover in today's live class, feel free to go through them and take a look. If you have any additional questions, your implementation specialist will be more than happy to go over any questions that you have in your one-on-ones together. The very last box in this tab we're going to talk about is session timeout. Now, this is important. When any of your caregivers, including yourself, log into the software, log in, you walk away from your desk, maybe you go to lunch. You do that screen. We have it defaulted to 1 hour. In 1 hour, if you don't toggle that screen, we're going to log you out for security purposes. If you would like to change your timeout minutes, you can. You can manually put anything in or use your up and down arrow. Whatever your policy and procedure is, you can change those minutes. All right. We're going to go to one other tab. We're going to talk about the caregiver tab. Now, I will let you know, Alora does have a progressive save tab. So once we're done with one tab, even inside of documents, and that caregiver goes to the next tab, Alora will save that current tab that they just completed. So as you can see, it says comes really quick and it goes away. The last tab we're going to talk about today is the caregiver tab. This is to add credential items for your employees. You have about 10 stored already in this area. If there's anything else that you track on your employees, go ahead and add them with the blue add button right here. For an example, if you do 90-day reviews on all of your new employees, add it in so you can track them. You can track credential items that are expiring for your caregivers in your dashboard. We have a widget box. Or you can also report. So this is something you in your click on that blue add button. Once you click on the blue add button, you're going to type in your item description in the very first box. Once you type that description in, you're going to come up with a code. It's just up to 4 characters to summarize the first box. 90-day review, I just put 90RV. You only have up to 4 characters to summarize it. Then you would save and close. So this is where you're going to add all of those items. Teddy asks, does that apply for nurses as well? Can you clarify that just a little bit, Teddy?
Yeah, so we're called the skilled. So we are on the skilled side. So our employees would be pretty much nurses, therapists at some point. So I'm not sure if the caregivers tab here would apply to those kind of employees if we are making this configuration for codes.
Well, this is just credential items that you can actually add into your software. When we say caregivers, we mean anyone who provides care out in the field, whether they're a home health aide, they're a nurse, a therapist. That's what we say caregivers here at Alora. So it's not just home health aides. This area is just to add in tracking our credential items. And I'll show you where they pull to because we're actually going to add an employee together. Whatever you add here to the software, your credential items will pull to every employee's HR record.
Got it. That answers my question. Thank you.
Perfect. You're welcome. So if you think thing in a few weeks from now, what's great about Alora is you can always come back to any setup area, any global setting area. You can add at a later time. So if you can't think of anything else to add, no worries at all. You can always come back. All right. We're now going to talk about just a few setup items today. The rest will be covered tomorrow. I want to go over some setup items that are specific when you're adding employees into the software, their HR record. So we're going to go back over to setup on the left-hand side. The first thing that we're going to talk about is communication type for staff. So if you guys are following along with me, go ahead and click on that tab, communication type for staff. In every HR that you create in your software, there is a communication log, which I'll show you in just a few minutes. If that caregiver communicated something to you or the office, or if it's about that caregiver, you can actually add it in their communication log in their HR record. This area that you see are to add in types of communication. What communication type did you have? You have examples already stored in your software. I always like to go over two that are not in here that I encourage agencies to add. Call out or call off. If you want to log in a caregiver's communication log, if a caregiver called off, add that communication type with the blue add button. Name it whatever you'd like. Call out, call off, and then save and close. Great communication type to add into your software. I'm not going to add it because I'm going to duplicate it. I don't need it in here twice. Another one would be is it this right here, Teddy?
The one on top, the blue one. Just a missing.
You are correct. I'll get with the team to let them know to fix that. You're right. Yeah, they spelled that wrong. Let me make a note. Good eye, Teddy. Let me just write this down so I can put a ticket in for that, guys. 1 second. Staff. Okay. Yes, they did spell that wrong. I'll get that fixed. Another one would be to add in vacation or PTO. Type in whatever you would like to for that communication type. Put in both if you'd like. And save and close. I already have it, so I'm not going to save it. For my note takers, I always like to say this. You can run reports based on the communication types that you add into the software. So if you wanted to run a report, if you put in a log of all the caregivers that call out and you want to run that report and look at all of those communication logs to see who called off, you can run reports based on those communication types. Would love to point out, we have help videos throughout the software. A lot of the help videos are in the setup area, and here's one example. If you're not sure what it means to add in communication type for staff, here's your help video. It's going to walk you through. We're going to go back over to setup. Now we're going to click on the electronic staff caregiver document folder. You're going to see examples already here set up for you. This is to create folder names. So when you're uploading documents to a caregiver's HR record, you can actually put that document directly into a folder for better organization. This is where you create folder names. You want to the ones that we already have stored in your software. Here's one example. If you do a 90-day review, you want to create a folder for it, add it here with the blue add button. It's going to be more organized for your caregiver's HR records. You're going to be able to find all documents if they're in folders. You can add as many folders as you'd like, guys. That blue add button.
So how do you add your actual document to it? Is there a way to drag?
That's a great question. I'm going to show you in just a few minutes when we add an HR record together.
Sounds good, thanks.
This is just creating the folder names. Think of the setup area as adding stuff, building your foundation in Alora, one of the areas, just creating folder names. We're going to go back over to the left-hand side, and under setup, we're now going to go into the discipline tab right here. When you're adding an employee's record or HR record in the software, which I'll show you just a few minutes, you can tie into what they do. There's a discipline box. You have examples already here, as you can see, or if you're looking on your screen. This is to tie in what that person does. So if you want to create a specific one for someone, and maybe yourself, maybe you want to create CEO, owner, add it in with the blue add button. I'll show you in just a few minutes where it pulls to. We do encourage, even for the owners, to create an HR record. You don't have to fill all the tabs out, just the basic information. But when you create your HR record, there's a discipline box. What is your title? What do you do? If you wanted to create one and you are an owner or a CEO, you can put it in there. Discipline type is important. So let's say, for an example, you are a CEO, but you have a nursing degree. You have your license to go out and do visits if need be. Discipline type is very important. So if you're creating a discipline name and that person goes out on the field and provides care. So if you're a CEO and you're a nurse, select skilled nursing. If you are, let's say, a scheduler, you have one person doing scheduling, but you're going to hire when you become big. But that one person is a home health aide. They actually help schedule in the office, and they actually go out in the field as well to help when need be. Use their discipline type, home health aide. If you are creating any discipline names and that person does not go out on the field and provide care, maybe you just want to do office staff for everyone who doesn't. Under discipline type, if you are creating that person and they don't go out on the field, they're always going to be under other. Other is not recognized as a skill. They basically just work in the office and don't provide any care out in the field. So this is going to be very important. So if you're hiring on a biller, someone who works in HR, your career name, discipline name, and they do it in the field, make sure you select other. then you're going to save and close. Now, whenever you select other, you're always going to get a warning box. We're going to let you know other is not recognized as a skilled service. And would you like to change that discipline type? In this case, my office staff do not go out in the field, so I'm going to put no. And it's going to save my changes. This part gets a little tricky, but I promise you guys, when we go into an HR record, you'll see exactly where this pulls to. So other would mean that they don't provide services out in the field. Any other that they do, you're going to select that correct discipline type. Here's LPN, LVN, skilled nursing.
Jackie, when you choose
there.
other, it does not allow me to save it.
It pops a warning that I do. It's not.
Yes, can you show me one doing?
Yeah, you'll just hit no. You don't want to make changes. Yeah. So when you save and close, this is what you'll see. It's asking you if you want to change the discipline box. If you say yes, it's going to take you back to the box behind this. If you select no, go to the summary and save it.
Did it save it for you? Can you refresh?
Yep. It's there.
Okay. So it might be saving for me too. Okay, but I'm not seeing on the first screen. Oh, yes, it is saving. So it's going to the second page. Okay. Gotcha.
Oh, yes. Oh, thanks for reminding me. I wanted to tell you guys that too. So we only show 10 entries. If you have a second page, you can either click on the next page or you can change this, guys. Oh, there we go. You can change this. If you want to view the next 50 or 25, change it. They all can be green.
So where is that button where you can choose how many?
Right here on the, oh, it's highlighting everything, guys.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
You see right there? It wants to highlight everything on the upper right-hand corner, right above or below the help video.
Right, okay.
Yep, so you can change your. All right, guys, no questions on that? Any other questions, I should say? All right. Last thing I'm going to show you in the setup area until tomorrow is region. So under setup, we're going to go all the way down into the R's, and there's region. Now, you may not need to put anything in this area. The region will be blank for you. So what you see on the screen are just examples. This is going to help you match when scheduling where a caregiver lives and where a patient lives. That way you don't schedule a caregiver that doesn't live in that county or region. If you know the areas that you're going to serve patients in, you can add those regions in, or you can put the county names in. It's up to you. You don't have to do it right now. When I show you how to add a caregiver in, there's going to be a region box to where that caregiver lives or where they're going to see patients in. That's where you can add that region or county in. Then on Wednesday, when I show you inside of a patient's admission, you can tie in where that patient lives as well. There's a region box. So it's going to link them together, and on every calendar, you have a little region link, and it's wherever that patient. Click on that link. It's going to show you the caregivers that are in that area. So it's pretty cool. So you don't have to worry about scheduling a caregiver that lives very far away from the patient's house. They kind of match it together, and we let you know who is available, who lives in that area the patient lives in. If you wanted to add your counties or regions in, you're just going to click on the blue add button and add them in. Again, you might not need to put anything in here unless you know what counties that you're going to see patients in already. Any questions on this area?
I have a question. This is
Oh, I think there's a couple people, so I don't know who wants to go first.
I think I'll go first. This is done. So how does the employee communicate here? It's very. He might be covering other days too.
How does the caregiver communicate here?
Mm-hmm.
So this is just adding in your counties into your software. It's just another setup area.
Oh, that was a separate question. Like, I think there was a pause. Nobody was asking, so I'm asking a different question.
Okay. I'm not sure what you're asking then.
Oh, you told that the employee the caregiver will communicate, like send a message, and is that the Alora mail, or is it the agency email, or how do you? Is there a system here built in, like some kind of chat, to communicate?
That's a great question. We do have Alora Mail. Alora Mail is internal only. What's going to cover this week? It's a great way to communicate to office staff or caregivers that are out in the field. Yep, you can communicate through Alora Mail. They can communicate back and forth.
Oh, okay.
Hopefully that answers your question. Let me know if it doesn't. So that's the
Yeah,
way you
but
would communicate.
so it's like, are you covering this in other days, or like you want us to figure out on our own?
So yes, as I said, I was going to cover this later in the week, Alora Mail. We're not
Oh,
going through that today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Mhm.
Yeah, we're going to cover Alora Mail. I promise. It's just not in today's live class.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I think some other people had questions. Feel free to unmute.
Yeah, Jackie, it's only by
Yes.
county. The region is only by county.
You can
Not
put whatever
city?
you'd like, Marjorie. If you're a big agency, put just the region. You can put whatever you'd like here to track.
Okay, by cities.
Yeah, you could do that as well. Absolutely.
Okay. Thanks.
You're welcome. Do we have one more question? I'm not sure. I thought I heard 3 people, but I could be completely wrong. All right, guys. Maybe it was just 2. Okay. So now let me show you how to add an employee inside of your software. If you're following along with me and you have an employee to add in, follow along. It's really easy, guys. There's going to be 2 steps. The first step is to add their HR record in. To do that, you're going to click on your Setup tab. You're going to choose Staff Caregiver, the 5th one down. This is where you're going to add all of your employees' HR records. So if you want to follow along and maybe add your own in, click on your blue Add button. I'm going to open up someone I already have. When you click on your blue Add button, it's going to open up the demographics. You're going to see some tabs in here. You may not see this last tab right here. It's actually, you have to enable this feature in your customize area. We're going to go through these tabs together, guys. If you have a photo, of course, you're going to upload that caregivers folder, a photo on the upper left-hand corner. There's Winnie. You're going to put in that caregiver's last name, first name, employee ID. This box is optional. If you are working with a payroll company outside of Alora and you have employee IDs for payroll purposes, you would plug in that employee's ID here. If not, you can leave that box blank. This is where your discipline, your setup discipline pulls into play. So that's where you can tie in what that person does for the agency. You added in additional ones in your setup area, you're going to see them in the drop-down. That's where that pulls into. As you can see, this is a nurse. Because I selected in discipline type, skilled nursing, these boxes now here. Type of nurse is Winnie, RN. Whenever you add an employee's HR record, they are automatically active in the HR record area. For my note takers, this is very important. Do not delete any caregiver's demographics, and I'll show you where it is. In the summary area, the red delete button. Do not, put it all in caps, do not delete any caregivers in this area. The reason why I keep going over this like a broken record is because your skilled clinicians have the ability to digitally sign documentation. And they digitally document, this information comes from first name, last name, and their title box. The title box is very important for your skilled clinicians. Make sure you have something in that box. Do not leave that blank. If they digitally sign, it's just going to say their first and last name. That's great, but what do they do? What is their title? So do not skip this one. If you delete a caregiver in their HR record with that red trash can, and that caregiver has digitally signed documentation, it deletes it. Deletes it from the software. You're deleting their HR record, which is their digital signature, which is their note. Now, IT can bring it back in there, but it takes a while. That's why if they no longer work for your agency, just select the box, make them inactive. That's all you have to do. And then save and close. Okay. You would fill out the rest of that information, their date of birth, all that fun stuff, hire date. If they do leave, you can put a termination date in too. Next is the caregiver's address. Self-explanatory stuff, guys, so I'm going to keep going down. Cover zip codes. If you hire an employee that only covers certain areas, certain zip codes, you can actually plug in those zip codes in this box right here, as many as you like, as many as they're going to cover. There's the link on the patient's calendar. When you put the covered zip codes in that caregiver setup, you're going to be able to see what caregivers are available in that area where the patient lives in too. So it kind of helps you with scheduling too. Or it helps you when you have caregivers that will only cover certain areas and not everywhere. If you have caregivers that will go anywhere, leave this box blank. You don't really have to worry about it. It's just basically those caregivers that say, I'm only covering my zip code only. I'm not going anywhere else. Then you can plug those zip codes in. I'll show you guys on Thursday where this pulls to. Professional license number, of course, if they have one, you can plug it into that box right here. Additional information, cell phone. Emergency contact, you can put that person and that number in. Staff office. You will, even if you only have one office, you will have to select the box the caregiver is in. Alora will pop up a toaster error if you forget to type select this box. It lets you know. It's not going to save it until you actually select that box. This is where you can tie in region, city, where that caregiver lives to help with scheduling. So that's where it pulls to when you add it to your caregiver's HR record. Again, it's the scheduling. So when you become a big agency, guys, you can put them on to different regions. Once you're done with your first tab, you have other tabs. So now we're going to go into the credential tracking. This is where all your credential items will pull to every caregiver's HR record. In order for Alora to track items that are going to expire, you must put the expiration dates in the middle boxes right here. If you forget to put in calendared boxes or dates, we're not going to be able to track on your dashboard what's about to expire for your employee. You have a little comment box. As you can see, when CPR expired on 8/26. But we caregiver is going out there on Wednesday, 8/23 to renew. That's where the credential items pull to. Next, we have pay rate. How are you paying that employee? Are you going to pay them by the specific visits that they do, which is the billing codes? Or are you going to pay them by the visit or by the hour? Winnie gets paid by the hour. And you would just plug in that rate box.
I see that 45 by default was the industry standard.
No, it's 0. I just put 45 in there. I just opened up Winnie, that's why. No, that would be horrible if we just had rate there for all of your employees. What if it was a home health aide? I'll work for you.
Yeah.
Your next area is the special pay rate by billing code. This is if you want to pay your caregiver a special pay rate. Maybe they're doing a weekend visit. You can find your billing code, and your implementation specialist will cover this in more detail if you like. You're just going to find the billing code that that caregiver is doing the visit. For example, Winnie gets $100 for the visit for a start of care. Winnie usually gets $45 an hour, but when we schedule this billing code to any patient's calendar, it's going to override that $45 and give Winnie a standard pay rate of $100. So you can put special rates in for your caregivers, and this is where you do it. Next, the electric, which I think we had a question on a little bit earlier. This is where you're going to upload any documentation to your caregiver's HR record. You're going to scan it to the computer that you're on. Then you're going to click on your blue add button and find that file on your computer. You'll hit choose file. Once you hit choose file, it's going to show you a preview on this screen right here to make sure that's the correct document that you're uploading to that caregiver's HR record. If it is, this is where your folders come into play we talked about earlier. Putting that document directly into a folder. So if I had new hire paperwork, I can choose that to put those documents in that folder. And then I would just save and close. I don't think I have any documents, guys.
What all formats does it support? Word, PDF? Is there any particular way we need to save the folder?
I believe it only converts it to a PDF. Let me just see if I have something, guys. Before I try to open up my files, it's super slow. There you go. So that's where it's going to show you that preview of that document. Now, if the document is too small and you can't read it, you can actually look at a screen preview by clicking on the button. And it gives you a big version of that document to make sure it's the correct one that you want to upload. This document is just an example, guys. I don't really have anything else on here to upload. So I'm going to hit my escape. It's going to take me back. I can put it directly into a folder. I know this is not new hire. It's actually an aggregator or clearinghouse. But once you save and close, it's going to save and close. See, my computer now is going to run slow. I was afraid this was going to happen, guys. I don't want to save and close. If I were to save and close, it's going to show right here, guys. Next is your availability. This is another one of my favorites. If you hire on employees that can only work certain days or certain times, plug in their availability in HR. I promise you this is going to help you with scheduling. So if Winnie, I just hired on Winnie, and Winnie says I cannot work the weekend, and on Wednesday I can only do a half day, 12 to 4. Right now, Winnie is unavailable. I'm going to switch Winnie to not available on the weekend by selecting the not available button. And then I want to add in the times that Winnie can only work on Wednesday. So I'm going to click on the blue add button right here to add in the availability start time. So Winnie can work 12, 4. So you can just click your up arrow and then save. So when you're adding specific times for a day, you're not going to see them until you actually hit your drop down arrow here. And then it's going to show you that information. So if anyone who is doing scheduling tries to schedule visits to Winnie on the weekend or before 12 or after 4 on Wednesday, they're going to get an alert box saying this caregiver is not available on this day if it's the weekend because we put not available, or this time on Wednesday if you're trying to schedule a visit before 12 or after 4. This will definitely help you because you don't want to schedule visits to a caregiver that's not available that day. This will help you with scheduling. If you need to modify any times, you're going to again click on your drop down arrow, and then there's 3 blue dots right here. You can modify the availability periods or delete it, guys. Any questions on this area? All right.
So
Our
once
last
you
tab,
enter,
which you guys,
quick question. Once you enter the availability, does it show right away or does it show when you schedule actually? Right now I saved one and it doesn't show it to me. So how do I check it? What did I enter?
so you clicked on your blue add button,
Yes, I did. And then
then you
I
click,
saved start date and end and start time. And what does it say?
so if you're looking on that day on your screen, go all the way over to the right. Do you see that gray drop down arrow?
Gray drop down arrow. Oh, okay. Got you. Okay.
When you, perfect, do you see it?
Yeah.
When you click on that, there we go. Yeah, it's tricky. That's why I like to show age, and you have to click on that drop down arrow to see the availability time.
Okay.
Perfect. Your last tab, which you guys probably don't have, it's a customized feature which you can turn on. It's really easy. Oh, no problem, Kayla. See you tomorrow. She's one of the agencies that joined, I think, last week. Sorry, guys, she said she had to go, so I was just reading her message. The last tab is the COVID-19. It's just to put in that caregiver's vaccination status, what vaccine they had, so you can put that information in for that caregiver if you need to. And again, if you guys aren't seeing that tab, it's something that you can actually add on to your customized area, and we'll be more than happy to show you that. All right, guys, let's go back to the very first tab, the demographics inside of the HR record, because I want to show you the blue buttons on them. Almost done, guys. I'll get you out of here by 4:30. every caregiver's HR record, you're going to have additional blue buttons on the bottom. Print staff profile. That would be great to print out your caregiver's information, and you can put in an emergency binder at your office. That way you have that needed information if you can't log into Alora for whatever reason. Maybe your power's out, not because of us, of course. Let me just show you when it's always like to cancel. So it gives you that information on that caregiver that you can print off. As you can see, which I like to mention, any blue buttons in Alora will open up a second tab so you don't lose the current tab that you're on, which is really neat, guys. All you got to do is just close that second tab, and it'll take you back to the current tab. Absence is back when an employee takes vacation or takes a PTO day. When you click on that blue button, you're going to add they're absent from and they're absent to. Any comments? Someone's taking a vacation or a day off, you can put that calendar day in, when they're absent from, and how long. And save and close. This is the communication log. So we talked about creating communication types. So if Winnie were to call into the office and say, my paycheck is short. I worked 40 hours and it's only saying 20. Maybe you guys want to put that communication log in. So you would open up that employee's HR record, go down to the bottom and hit your staff communication log. And this log it in. So as you can see, it opens up a second tab, and then you'll just click on your blue add button. If the communication was given to you on Friday, you can actually change that date. You would have to put a subject in. So let's say whatever you want for subject. But this is where the communication types fall into play. So if you added additional ones, you can find that communication type in the dropdown. And this would be financial paycheck. And then you would type your message here, the communication, type your communication. Now, what's also great, guys, if you are looking in your drop-down box and you're like, oh, I want to add something in there, this is a different communication, I have that communication, don't have to back over to setup. We've included a blue add button. If you want to add a new communication type, just click on that blue add button and add new. Add a new one in. It will save to your setup area. You have to back out of where you are, which is time consuming. We've included that button right here. Once you're done typing in that communication, you're going to save and close. As you can see on Winnie's summary communication log, we have lots of communication types. So you can always edit the log, delete it with the red trash can, print it, or put it in a Word or PDF file. Once you're done, close that second tab. And the last button we're going to talk about in the HR record is the Home Health Value-Based Purchasing Method. Of the states that require the staff influenza vaccination to be filled out for each employee, where you're going to fill it out for every employee. And yes or no? Done. You can save and close on the bottom, or save. I'm not going to keep this, guys. I'm just... All right. So that was part one on creating any employees inside of your software. So remember, I like to bring us back just a few minutes. To add an employee's HR record, you're going to go to the left-hand side, click on Setup, and choose the fifth one down that says Staff Caregiver. That is part one. Before we leave this area, do we have any additions for?
Jackie,
Yes.
in that demographic, When you click on this discipline there I click on mine, there's no other. So if I have a staff like my scheduler and the discipline is not there. So I do the same. I go to setup and then add it.
Yep. If you want to add scheduler in, yes, go to your setup,
Mm-hmm.
go to the discipline tab, click on your blue add button,
Okay.
name it, scheduling, scheduler, whatever you want to name it.
Mhm.
Select your other if they're not going out in the field.
Mhm.
Save and close. Yep.
But then it's gonna show up in the drop down, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll duplicate this to show you. Scheduler, but it's okay. I just want to show you it's going to be in there twice. Scheduler, other, save and close. Alora's going to say that. I don't want to make changes, so I'm going to hit the no button. Now, when I go back over to an employee's HR record, I should see two in there. So if I open up Winnie again, and you can filter the boxes too. So scheduler, I got 3 or 4. I need to delete some. So yeah, it will pull. Just be careful adding additional discipline names. I need to delete some of these, but yeah, it should pull right into that drop down for you.
Okay. All right. Thank
Of course, you would only have 1, Marjorie, not 4 like I have.
you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Great question. Anyone else have any questions for me before we do part 2? And part 2 will not take long, guys, I promise. All right, let's go ahead and keep going, guys. Once you're done with part 1, you want to do part 2, creating that employee's login credentials, the ability for them to log into your software. In order to do that, you're going to go over to the left-hand side and click on the admin tab. Once you click on that tab, you want to choose the second one, User Security Manager. And you're going to add them with the blue add button right here. I'm going to open up an employee I already have, guys, just to show you what it looks like. Who should we open up? Let's open up Deffing. When you, of course, click on the blue add button, these 3 tabs will be blank. So you're to put giver's last name again, first name, email address for my note takers. This is very important. Make sure they give you a real email address. This is their user login, so they need to give you an email. We have had issues where caregivers are working for other agencies still and using Alora and working for a new agency. They cannot give you an email they're already using to log in with another agency. They will have to give you another email address. They cannot duplicate it. If this happens, we don't encourage it. And if your caregiver says, I don't have another email, you can always make one for them if you like, or, which we don't encourage, you can generic one in here. The only issue, and why I say I don't encourage that, is if your caregiver forgets their password and in the login area they hit forgot password, it's going to send that temporary password to a fake email. So they're never going to get that temporary password if this is not a real email address. If they still do not have an email address they can give you, they're already using another one, and you don't want to create one for them, you can put a generic one in there. But if they ever forget their password, you're going to have to generate it for them. You're going to have to go into this area, hit this blue link, and it will generate a temporary password, and you'll have to give it to them. They're not going to get that temporary password on a fake email. It's going to be in La La Land. It's not going to go to that email. Lock account. If you remember, guys, in the very beginning of today's live class, I mentioned that if a caregiver or yourself gets locked out, they make those 10 attempts. This will have a blue check mark on it. That will let you know they are indeed locked out to in the software. All you have to do, guys, is go into that caregiver's user security manager and unselect that box and save your changes. That will unlock them, and they'll be back at 0 attempts to log into the software. You can also use this if you have a caregiver that no longer works for you and you don't want them logging in to Alora. Lock their account. When you lock their account, they will not be able to log into the software. They are locked out. Licensing, Alora Plus, that's what everyone's going to be using for the office. And for skilled clinicians, anything else is an upgrade. Implementation will be more than happy to cover. I'm not going to cover that in today's live class. If you are creating login credentials for an employee, my note takers, that go out on the field and provide care, if they do, you have to select their name in the drop-down box that they are a caregiver. This pulls from your HR records that you add into the software. If you forget to find their name and add them as a caregiver in this box, your caregiver will not be able to see any visits that you schedule onto them. They are not selected as a caregiver. So that's why it's very important to not miss step one. If you don't find that caregiver in the drop-down box, most likely you did not create their HR records. They must be selected as a caregiver down box if they go out in the field and provide care. If you have a person that works in the office, you don't have to worry about this. You can leave this box blank. They work in the office. They don't provide care out in the field. Any questions on this, guys?
Whatever the below two check boxes there, should we check it? Should we not check it? What is the scenario?
What check boxes? Right here?
Below. Yes, those.
Oh, I was going into that next.
Okay.
So I would say that you guys don't have to worry about this area at this time. Now, this is when you are a big agency and you want to put your caregivers on a care team. That way, that caregiver only sees patients that provide care for and not all of your active admissions in Alora. Put them on a care team. Don't worry about selecting this now. This is when you have lots of referrals, lots of caregivers, lots of patients. You can put that caregiver on the care team. That way, when they log into the software, they're only going to see patient information on the patients that they provide care for, and not the 200 patients that you may have in your software, just the ones that they are providing care. So don't
Jackie,
worry about this.
what is lot mean? Like, is there a like? It's a little confusing.
What does what mean? I'm sorry.
Yeah, what does lot mean? Lot of caregiver means like, is it 10, 20, 50, or is like it's good to check now and keep it as it is?
I would discourage you selecting this box just yet, especially for a new agency.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Happens where new will select it for a caregiver and then call customer support saying the caregiver will call and say, I don't see my patients. They're scheduled onto me. Most likely they're on care teams and they're not added to the patient's care team. Yeah, I would leave it unselected for now. You don't really have to worry about it just yet. Like the questions, guys, very interactive. Last week it wasn't interactive at all. I was like, I was all by myself. So now we can go to the second tab, security role. This area is what type of access would you like to give that employee on the left-hand side. Now, I'm not going to go through these boxes, guys, but I would like to mention in your arrows, when you click on arrows and go to your, well, we can click on today's class, session 1. These 2 training materials, I promise you, will help you in the secure role tab area. We give you little pictures of what this means by selecting full access to the left-hand side. These are great training materials that will help you. Just with every employee, which is great, you can pick and choose what you want them to see on the left-hand side. If they're not a biller, they don't need that billing tab, and you would give them no access to that area. All right, guys, a few minutes over. I promised you 4:30. Sorry, guys. Last tab is your dashboard. So that's what I was talking about in the very beginning. So once you add an employee into the software, this is where you can customize their dashboard. What do you want them to see? Do they need to track orders? The first one, for my note taker, any skilled clinicians, highly encourage you to select Show Daily Schedule. This is the ability for that caregiver, when you schedule a visit to them, do their visit on the dashboard, which we highly encourage. It links to the calendar, and it marks that visit completed for you, so you don't have to manually do it. So this would be one I would encourage you to select. We give you a little cheat sheet too, guys. Over to the right, we're going to let you know what it means by selecting the box to the left. So with every skilled clinician and office staff, you can customize their dashboard. Here's all their widget boxes. And of course, once you're done, you're going to save. So if you followed along with me and added a new employee, I'm not sure if anyone did, it's going to take you back to the user manager once you save. You have now created a temporary password that's going to be sent to the email on file. And that employee should be able to log into Alora. But I promise you guys, it's really easy to add an employee in. There's just 2 steps. 1, get their HR record. Set up staff caregiver. And step 2, create their login credentials, admin and user security manager. And that was today's class, guys. I feel like I'm losing my voice a little bit. Do we have any additional questions or concerns for me before we end today's session? I've got a good group here. I love it.
So thank you, Jackie.
You're very welcome, Marjorie. If you guys haven't done so already, I'm not sure if everyone, I am taking attendance. If you guys didn't provide me your full name, email address, can you put it in the chat box for me? Tomorrow, we're going to be covering almost the rest of the setup items on the left-hand side. All right, guys, I don't see anything else in the chat. You're welcome. Is it Teddy? I hope your name's Teddy, unless it's someone else's name, which I get that a lot. They're logging into someone else's Zoom, and I'll say their name wrong. Well, perfect, guys. Thanks for joining me today, and I'll see you guys here back again tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, Jackie. Have a nice evening.
You're very welcome.
Thanks.
Thanks, Jack.
You're very
You too.
welcome.
ผมเลยขอมือไอ้ student cosa. Se não que parler, work, vai ter um parler, com question, if I'm going to sit down and be quiet, about something, very good. But too much, party talk.